Hello, guys. I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are all of you doing? I hope this is finding you all very, very well on this beautiful Saturday. It's October 18th, 2025. I have a YouTube channel called It's the Dazzling of the Light, or you can just go to YouTube and type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star. I think it's just, I think it's 278 podcasts I have now, and this will make it 279 once I publish it. So why not check it out and why not join my channel? It's free and I think it's pretty interesting and cool because I just do juicy and interesting and sometimes spicy stuff. I don't do the mundane and boring. I'm not interested in that. And if you like this content, please remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm sure you've never heard any of that before. I'm sure that's all very, very new to you. So thank you in advance. I like to begin all of my clips with the three opening prayers, which are in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they are short. They are the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra, and this is to bless, uplift, purify, and protect you, me, and this clip. Before I do that, I command on the sacred blood of Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, to flow over all of us and all of our beloveds and all of our social medias, and all the ways that we speak and express ourselves for the best and the highest. Please, Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, cast out all satanics, all satanic attachments, cast out all demonics, all demonic attachments, cast out the spirit of pain, cast out the spirit of fear, cast out the spirit of ill health, cast out the spirit of lack and poverty, cast out the spirit of jealousy, envy, resentment. Cast out the spirit of doubt, confusion, fogginess. Thank you so much, Yeshua. Jesus the Christ, send your healing presence now. Yeshua, please heal the wounds in our souls. Thank you, Yeshua. We receive your healings for ourselves and our beloveds, all of our human beloveds and our animal beloveds, and we receive your blessings. I call upon Mother Mary, the sacred divine, real Mother Divine with a pure, unconditionally loving mother's heart, and her fierceness, her protective quality, as well as her gentleness is always evident in everything that she blesses us with, provides for us, envelops us with, guides us towards. Thank you so much, Mother Mary. Thank you, Yeshua, for being here with us ever more presently, because we know that Mother, Father, God, and Jesus the Christ, and Mother Mary, and all divinity are always with us. We know that we are one with the divine, but we just ask to be even closer. Amen. Swaha. Now for the prayers. Om, Om, Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmahi Sri Guru Vena Namaha. Om Suklam Bharataram Vishnum, Sashivarnam Chatobhujam, Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vignupashante. Om Bhur Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhako Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachotayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very good. I think I'm going to call this clip Red October Part 5, Dangerous Freedom versus Peaceful Slavery. And as I continue with this podcast, you'll find out where I got that subtitle from. I think it's very interesting. So I prepared this actually yesterday, but I was too busy to record. So please forgive me when I say something's tomorrow, it's actually today. So I'm going to start this with Speaker Mike Johnson. And this is from At the National Desk. It's a little short here. And it was titled by the National Desk, No Kings Rallies. And so this is Speaker Mike Johnson speaking. And he said, now tomorrow, meaning it's today, obviously. Now tomorrow, the Democrat leaders are going to join for a big party out on the National Mall. They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much anticipated so-called No Kings Rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America Rally. Okay? And I'm not sure how anybody can refute that. If you think about what's going to happen here tomorrow, you're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. That's where they've gone. And the Hate America Rally is the common theme among all those groups. Listen to the language they use themselves. Many of them don't like living in America. They hate capitalism. They hate our free enterprise system. They hate our principles. They hate the idea that we come to work every day to fight to preserve the greatest nation in the history of the world. They hate the idea of individual freedom and limited government. They hate the idea of the rule of law. They fight against all of this all the time. They hate the idea of peace through strength. They lobby against it all the time. Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the things that lead to human flourishing, the things that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world. They're opposed to law enforcement. They're opposed to military. And their votes show it over and over. That's the collection of voices that you'll hear tomorrow, that the Democrats will go out and raise their hands with and cheer with. And some of these people are so blinded by their hatred of President Donald Trump that they can't find one reason to celebrate America or all that we've accomplished and continue to accomplish under this new administration. Now, obviously, every American has every right to exercise their First Amendment freedoms. I'm personally a big advocate of that. I spent the first 20 years of my legal career in the federal courts before I came to Congress, defending the right to free speech. They have the right to do it. Republicans, by the way, are the party that fights to maximize your liberty. And we believe it, just as our founders did, that every American has been endowed by God himself with our inalienable rights. And that includes the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But tomorrow, this rally is not about freedom. It's about the opposite. For many of our Democratic colleagues, tomorrow is about creating, really, a spectacle. That's what they've been doing here every day of the shutdown, with their little TikTok videos and their publicity stunts. And they're going to do it in a much larger venue tomorrow, which, listener, as you know, is today, Saturday, October 18th. And as the shutdown drags on, it's become increasingly clear that this spectacle is the reason the Democrats have refused to reopen the government. Now, this was a comment after that. Someone commented on this little short, and the commenter is called @OldSilverDollar. So this person's comment I really liked, and this person said, I applaud him for not calling out the imbecility involved in the whole no kings. That's because if anybody was actually trying to be a king, you wouldn't have the right to do this. So the rally is an oxymoron. And then a commenter underneath that, who's called @DeborahArning8593, said, heavy on the moron. And I concur. I agree with that. Now I want to comment something that is very obvious, but now that the war in Gaza is over, where is all the relief and thanks and happiness from all those deluded cosplayers who are always chanting free, 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 free Palestine? All the communists with their tribal scarves. It's like a LARP, a live action role play. And now, the war is over, but they're still, not only are they not acknowledging that it's over, and they don't seem to be happy at all that it's over. And I said this a while ago, that it was never about free, free, free Palestine or this issue. It is like a live action role play, and I said this in an earlier podcast of mine, but they could have been foaming at the mouth just about anything as they collect their pay from George Soros and affiliated evils. They could just be going over insane over the fact that they don't want more peanut butter than jelly on their traditional kindergarten favorite sandwiches, PB&Js. It could have been about anything. It could have been about that they think there are, too many leaves on the bushes in the neighborhood surrounding them. It doesn't matter what the issue is. They just wanted to foment chaos. They just wanted to create hell. They just wanted to stir up all this insanity. And we know why, if you go back to the source of who sourced him, because I'm not saying that these beings, these rioters and Antifa and all these deluded communists and Satanists, really, because communism is Satanism at its core. That's look up Marx, look up any communist ideology, and really what it is at its foundation is it's satanic. It's very much against humanity, hating humanity, foaming at the mouth with hatred at humanity, actually. That was what I was going to say is, if you look at the source of, I have on my channel a series called The Controllers, and also a series called The Real series, and you can check that out if you like. Just scroll down and you can find it. A really good series, I think, when I'm going into detail about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of what's been allowed to control this earth realm for thousands of years. And those are whom I refer to often as the evils or the controllers. So if you look on the US $1 bill that was printed by the Satanic Federal Reserve, which was never any part of the federal government, it was always a private bank, a private centralized bank of the evils, one branch you could call the Rothschilds. And it was always very twisted, always putting out their fiat currency. They just print the money out of thin air, or they make it real by having us humans make deposits in their banks and using our signature, our human signature on their paperwork that gives them permission to draw the actual funds that they're pretending that they're loaning us out of our own Setwikovi Trust, which a lot of Americans mispronounce as Sustakavi Trust. You might have heard of it, but it's Old French. It's Setwikovi, and I've spoken about that on my podcast several times. I'm not going to elaborate on that here, but you might hear people talking about it, and you think, if you try to look it up, like, I can't find anything called Sustakavi Trust. That's just because it's mispronounced. So on our US $1 bill, as I'm sure you've seen many times, go look at that corrupted satanic Freemasonic pyramid with the floating capstone, with the eye, the all-seeing eye of the evil one, Satan, Lucifer. But it's also called, by the evils themselves, the Eye of Horus, and that's a story, like I said, I've already spoken about that too. And it's kind of their victory. You have to go back to look at their satanic myths about Isis and her brother husband Osiris, and their son Horus, and how Osiris's brother Set murdered Osiris, and the whole thing about chopping up his body into 14 pieces and casting it into the ocean, and the fishes ate one missing part, which happened to be the phallus, and that was missing. So Isis wanted to bring her husband brother back to life, and so she fashioned a phallus out of stone, I believe it was, or it could be out of gold in the myth, and with that had relations with the resurrected Osiris and produced a son, Horus. And then later in Horus's life, as he's growing up, his uncle Set is in battle with him and is trying to murder him because Set is very evil. So it's kind of different, because you might think, we hear things like, because of the evils, they really co-opted ancient Egypt, as they came out of ancient Babylon and then Sumer, and they were just always children of Cain, just brotherhood of the serpent, just very satanic and evil, and humanity hating and just wanting to follow their father of lies, Satan, and do all the evil works in this earth realm and take everything for themselves that was of any value and worth, including our babies, our children, and really ourselves and our souls and our consciousness. But as they were corrupting ancient Egypt, and the pharaohs there and the high priest caste there, they co-opted some of the myth of Isis, Osiris, Horus, and Set, etc. for themselves. So sometimes you'll hear things that are really negative. If you're looking at it, you're thinking, well, I thought that they were those mythical, those Isis, Osiris, etc. were evil. But not really, because if you really learn, and a really good source for this is Max Spears, who so sadly is not on the earth realm anymore. Wonderful. And I'm going to be doing something about him pretty soon, because I've really adored him and what he shared for so long, and he really was he was unalived by the evils for speaking up, and he shared a lot and gave a lot for us to know and learn and relearn. But he was someone who was really, because he had been raised with this, he had been MK Ultra, he was from an elite bloodline, he was supposed to be in this whole satanic ruling elite mess, and I'll talk more about that in another podcast. But he was the one who said that the reason why that's also called the Eye of Horus, like you see when you see all of the satanic A-list celebrities and beings of leaders and owners of large corporations and people of name and fame, like politicians or royalty. You see them. Why do they always cover? Generally it's their left eye, and they do it in a tricky way, or they put it like they're making it like the OK symbol, like making a circle with their thumb and forefinger and their middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger sticking up, looking like turkey feathers, the OK sign. But that's really their 666. That's their homage to the devil, and they put that around their left eye, or they cover their left eye. And you can look at so many magazines, fashion magazines, political magazines, whatever, and you might wonder why they're always doing things like holding a flower up to one eye, or winking, or maybe holding a book up to one eye. Everything to obscure so you just see one eye. That's their homage of, the all-seeing eye of their evil father of lies, Satan. So my point in saying all this, I kind of got off track with it, but in terms of the rioters that I was talking about, you'll see the motto on that US $1 bill, Ordo ab chao, and that's Latin for order out of chaos. And that is the evils, one of their mottos is, and one of the ways and stratagems that they've used just forever, is that they do something on purpose to mess up humanity, to cause chaos, to cause war, to do whatever. And then when the humans are begging for relief and saying, oh, we'll do anything to have peace again, to have safety again, to have calm again, or whatever, then they happily pop up with their solutions. And like a duplicitous serpent, not all snakes, I'm not saying snakes are bad, but I'm referring to the evil one, the Lucifer, Satan, the serpent. offers these clever solutions with a great deal of lying, like it's all for your good and this will help and it's all to help you, but it's their solutions and it's geared toward their goals. So they foment the chaos and the war and the tragedy and everything else, and they pop up with like, we'll help you, and then they do their best to herd us, like they call us goyim, cattle or sheep or useless eaters. They do their best to herd us towards their the cliff they want us to jump off of or fall off of, fall into their trap and their net. And in more modern times, we've seen that goal called Agenda 2021 or Agenda 2021-2030. And you can research that for yourself. There's so much information about that. And we see that playing out right now. So anyway, that's what they're all about. They're not about, the writers are not about free Palestine, whatever. They're just paid little minions and minions just to create hell. So now I want to say, the tide is really turning. It really is. Like, just notice last week that the state troopers in Chicago, who were under strong orders from the evil Governor Pritzker to never, ever, ever help ICE and never protect ICE as they just do their jobs and do what they are, that their duty is to get the illegal immigrants out of our country and deport them. And they're so viciously attacked, like overwhelmingly attacked. And now that last week we heard that cartels have put bounties on ISIS heads, like they $50K if you unalive someone, $2,000K if you like hit them or something. And there's specific bounties put on these cartels coming out of South America, Central America, Mexico, and that's real. So ICE needs protection. We saw in terms of the tide turning that the Chicago state troopers, all of a sudden, they defied their orders from Governor Pritzker, and we saw at the Chicago Broadview ICE Detention Center, that's the most famous one that you see if you look at, a lot of independent journalists streaming or even mainstream media, covers it. They started helping. They were making big lines and circles to keep the insane, foaming at the mouth, violent rioters from attacking the ICE or like jumping the fences and doing things like that. So that was a huge thing to see. Oh, all of a sudden the Chicago State Troopers, now they're doing their jobs. Now they decided to stand for law and order. Yeah, it was very good. So also we saw the other day in Portland, Oregon, it was amazing to see really stalwart American patriots that were peacefully walking, holding these big American flags. They were just walking in a line kind of by, the very famous Portland, Oregon ICE Detention Center there that's that you always see, that's just like beyond war zone, hell zone there. But they started showing up and just supporting the USA. And they were just saying maybe like USA, but nothing violent. And just walking in a line just behind, showing solidarity, showing the flags, and showing the unity to the federal officers there, saying, we support you, whatever. But they were not trying to interact with Antifa there at all, or any of the demented rioters. They were just doing that. And that was like an amazing thing to show up, like, oh my gosh, they exist in Portland. Actually, some real patriotic, bona fide Americans. Yes, they do. And as they were doing this, it was so gross to see. There was like naked men, just standing there completely naked, and naked women that would have maybe like a see-through, it was raining a lot, and have like a see-through rain slicker on, but you could see their naked bodies completely. And they were doing that just not long after that, what happened in Portland, which was so ridiculous. It was mostly all men, they called it an emergency naked bike ride. Just a bunch of pervs that got on their bikes completely naked in front of children, in front of everyone, riding their bikes en masse, all naked, all around Portland, saying that they have to do this. That's their protest against ICE, is to be just completely naked and to just expose themselves to everyone, and including children. So, what does that tell you about their character? Yeah. Anyway, so, and President Trump, he just mentioned a few days ago about sending the National Guard to San Francisco, and I'm so happy to hear that. I say it's about time. And Oakland needs a good cleanup too. Gosh, really, they do. But nothing can stop what is coming. The doesn't matter what these lower Black Robe District court judges keep trying to put these injunctions and blocks on President Trump's executive um, uh, orders as CIC Commander in Chief. Nothing can stop what is coming. The judiciary does not have that power over the executive, and it's just. But President Trump and President Trump's legal team are just grinding all this out through the courts because of the very reason that they are proving with facts and with actions that they are obeying the rule of law. They're not just being like a dictator, which would just do anything no matter what. But they're grinding it out in court. We've seen this all year. Everything. No, then President Trump's legal team takes to the appeals court, then to the Supreme Court, and he's been very victorious. Has it been, I think, 20 victorious decisions by the Supreme Court? Yeah, very good. So then, oh yeah, and you don't hear anything about President Trump just did this amazing feat of bringing down the cost of pharmaceuticals from 100% to 1,000%. Specifically with the pharmaceutical companies of Pfizer and AstraZeneca. And this is going through the most favored nations policy. This has been so needed in America. I mean, it's been the most expensive thing in America. We're the sickest nation, it seems like, on the earth realm, and that's by design. And all of our medical care and health care and insurance and medications and everything is the most expensive over anyone. Drastically expensive. And we've had, for a long time now, we've had like senior citizens that have to, on a fixed income, they have to choose between eating or getting their medications, their necessary medications, like that they really need for their life. That's just so satanic and so wrong. So this is incredible that we've got this now, and also that for the first time ever, through there'll be supplemental insurance through American employers to help out with the cost of medications as well. But they're also going to be just drastically reduced. And that is such a huge victory. I mean, that is just, people have been begging for this for so long. Just crazy. And we had to wait so long for it, but it's here now. And also with the incredible IVF plans. So now America's couples that are having troubles with fertility will not have to pay out of pocket. I think it's like from the 30,000 to, it could be 200,000 or higher. Doesn't even mean it's successful, that they even successfully were able to have a baby. So this is incredible that couples that are having a hard time making babies or having fertility problems, they're really going to be helped with that, and they won't have to pay out of pocket for it. They'll have some good insurance for that and coverage. Because we do need to people up. All of the, we see the birth rate decline all throughout the Western countries. And, well, not just Western countries. They have it in China as well, but that was a lot due to their, one baby policy for so long. But we need to baby up. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So many amazing changes are occurring, and there's so many, many more on the way. And I'm just fingers crossed for the end of this Ukraine-Russia war. I mean, it's got to end. It's just got to. And let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to put out some podcast listeners that are giving some more backstory and reveal hidden truths about how America and the world got into this precarious, dark, satanic precipice that we see and experience right now that's being cleaned up. But I want to give some more backstory to it. So I'm going to be doing that. And truth matters. Facts matter. Reality matters. And I always say this, but the apocalypse from the Greek, it means the great unveiling. And that's what we're in now. So let's really yank back that curtain, like the curtain of Oz, and let's reveal that little the who, what, when, where, and why of that little uh, man behind the curtain who called himself the Great Oz, and he's symbolic of the great deceiver, the darkness, the serpent, the liar. Yeah, let's pull the curtain back on that. All of this satanic nonsense and all of these ways that we've been so misled and MK Ultra'd. Gosh, the dominoes are really falling, and we see that with the indictments of James Comey, Letitia James, and then just a few days ago, John Bolton. And it's just going to keep rolling on because, like I said, nothing can stop what is coming. And of course, I've spoken about this before, and I just really don't like to keep repeating myself at length at this, but what you're seeing now with these indictments and different things have already happened, but this has to play out. This is part of what you might hear about when people say it's a movie. There are things, yes, things are real, but things are also playing out for optics, because a lot of things have already happened behind the scenes in terms of capturing the evils and their minions, and really, they're not really freely walking around. Like I say, there's over 200,000 hyperskin face masks, and voice box technology goes along with that, of all the characters that are being played all across the earth realm. So that's how, in terms that it's a movie, it's not like things aren't real and violence isn't happening and tragedy isn't happening and hardship isn't happening. It is happening, and it is, as well as a lot of good stuff. So when people say there's a movie, it doesn't mean that it's like tra-la-la, just don't pay attention to anything, don't worry about anything. I mean, worrying doesn't do any good anyway, but in terms of like when something's awry, so you're going to put your energy on it and your awareness on it, because you're going to be like, I have to find a solution. That's healthy. Oh, and so we can't just be couch potatoes, not doing anything. But never, and I have to be clear about this, I'm never promoting violence. I'm never promoting that. I'm never saying that anyone should do that, no matter how frustrated you feel or whatever. Don't do that. We have a military, we have professional people that handle things like that, so don't take that route, because it's not going to end well for you if you do. So anyway, and oh yeah, it was so amazing how just the other day too, President Trump, he just said the U.S. is not going to comply with the International Maritime Organization. That's what it's called, but it's really the Satanic Marine Admiralty Law. And the scam from the Satanic United Nations and the Satanic EU, the European Union, their scams that they keep putting out of like the global shipping carbon tax. And President Trump had them delay the vote by 1 year. And where we're going to be in a year is that it's not even going to come up again, because people might say, well, what's the purpose of delaying it 12 months? Because we're going to be in a very much a different situation. There's so many things that are going on, and that's not going to have to be an issue anymore, because the United States of America is not going to be paying all these trillions of dollars into all these satanic scams that the evils and their minions just scalp all the funds, and they don't use it for the purpose that's stated. They just enrich themselves and give a pittance to something, so it looks like, oh, we gave to this charity, or yes, we're doing this project or whatever, but you wonder why the results are always so flabby. And you can wonder for years and years, like, why isn't that happening? It's because they stole the money. And we found that out with the reveals of Doge and what Elon Musk showed us about the huge, incredible thefts taking place. Also, there's not enough people talking about the amazing change in Memphis, Tennessee, after President Trump sent in the National Guard. So I saw several days ago, but so many Black and Caucasian Americans in Memphis, they were speaking to journalists about the shift. And they were saying that their children can finally play in their own backyards. They weren't even saying front yards. They were saying their own backyards. Their children can finally play, and families can go outside, actually, and enjoy the nature, or just be on their street, watching their kids playing in the street or interacting with their neighbors, getting to have fun in their own neighborhoods. And so many people in Memphis were going on camera and being recorded and saying thank you to President Trump and the National Guard for helping them to clean up some of this rotten filth of the criminal gang characters that were making Memphis just like a no-go hellscape for so many years. So this is something, this is very amazing that I want to share with all of you. It's from an account, Kingdom Reacts, and this was put out yesterday, October 17th. Um, and the subtitle is Memphis Changed Everything, Black Voters Flip. And the Black American who does this channel, he's so good. He's so amazing. I really appreciate him. So I suggest you guys check it out. But he put this out yesterday, and it's really quite something. So I think what I'm going to do for this listener, for this clip that I'm calling Red October Part 5, Dangerous Freedom versus Peaceful Slavery, I think I'm going to use this beautiful young boy. He looks like he's about 8 years old. I'm not sure though, but he lives in Memphis with his family, Memphis, Tennessee. And his name is Braylon, and he is such an incredible speaker. You know, he's like this narrator says from this channel, he's like an old soul talking, but you just know, I mean, he's already something right now at 8 years old, and you can't even imagine what he will be 10 years from now, because he was so wise and so well spoken and amazing. But he's 8 years old, and he goes on TikTok to say thank you to President Trump and the National Guard for what they've done for Memphis, because it seems like he's never been able to play outside that he can remember. I mean, that was bringing a lot of people to tears even hearing that. But anyway, so this, I'm just going to call him the narrator of this channel. He said, he put this up here. So I'm going to put Braylon's picture on the thumbnail of this clip. And so when you look at that and you're like, well, who's that kid, you know, in the thumbnail? That's why I'm putting him there. Yeah, I am. He's amazing. So here's what Braylon put on YouTube. He said, "My name is Braylon, and I live here in Memphis. I've been noticing not just a slight change, more of a detrimental change in like how peaceful Memphis is. Ever since the National Guard came, there was a lot of things I couldn't do before the National Guard came because I had to worry a lot about guns and stuff. I couldn't play because I was worried that somebody might pull out a gun or something. But now I could do that. And I just wanted to thank the President of the United States for bringing the National Guard." And then the narrator of this channel, he says, "Now that's a little boy talking like an old soul. You can hear the innocence in his voice. And somehow it's heartbreaking that peace feels new to him. You know, we've normalized chaos so long that calm actually feels suspicious. This ain't some partisan commercial. It's a moment of gratitude. He's not waving a flag. He's not noticing that his world finally got quiet enough for him to be a kid again. And instead of celebrating that, some people turned on him. And it's the new America, man. That's the new America. We cancel gratitude if it doesn't come with the right logo on the t-shirt." But the reaction this mom got, this is where it gets darker, not because of politics, but because of ego. And then the narrator goes to this another young black man on TikTok who's called @C, and I mean as the letter C, @C Marty Fit. And so that's who's speaking now. This young @C Marty Fit on TikTok says, "All right, we have more black community BULLSHIT. All right, we have more black community BS. As we know, Trump just sent the National Guard to Memphis, like he previously did in Washington, D.C. Cleaned up a lot of the crime. Clearly it was successful. Whether you like Trump or not, the SHIT worked." Okay, he goes to Memphis. They're arresting 500, 1,000 criminals. It's working there, right? So this black woman gets on. She happens to be a journalist in Memphis, so she's pretty aware of all the crime that happens there. This black woman gets on this app and she says, "Hey, I'm happy it's safe out here. We had a weird guy walk up to my house the other day, and now my kids can finally play outside. I love it." She said nothing about being a Trump supporter. She said nothing about she loves white people more than black people. But black people got on this app, and she was black, by the way, listener. She's a black mother. And black people got on this app and called her a Trump supporter and an Uncle Tom and all the other names in the book. Black community, what the hell is wrong with y'all? We don't want safety for kids. Forget the election and forget who won and who lost. She's talking about safety for her kids. Kids should be able to go outside and play just like kids in other neighborhoods. Black kids should go out in black neighborhoods and predominantly black cities and play. There's nothing wrong with that. Why do y'all have a problem with the president, whether you like him or not, cleaning up a city and somebody actually appreciating it? What the hell is wrong with y'all? Black community is cooked, man. Y'all cook and y'all don't even have any type of counter argument. It's just black person says something good about Trump. Y'all don't use y'all effing brains. What the hell is wrong with y'all, man? And then the narrator says, yeah, you can hear how tired he is. That's not someone trying to go viral either. That's someone tired of watching people choke. Well, choke on their own bitterness, rather. Imagine living through drive-bys, ducking bullets, losing friends, and when help finally arrives, your own people clown you for feeling relieved. That's not unity. That's actually trauma talking. If you ask me, we've mistaken cynicism for consciousness. Some of us are so addicted to struggle that peace feels like betrayal. But here's the truth. Safety don't have a party, okay? It's not red. It's not blue or black and white. It's human. And that's exactly what this next guy realized. A man who started on the other side until reality humbled him. And then, listener, he shows a TikTok clip of this guy. I think he's like in his 30s. He's a black man with headphones on. He's in Memphis. He's waiting at a bus stop, he says. But he's on TikTok, and it says he's at Smoking Words. So it's like smoking and then word with a Z, at Smoking Words. So this is who's talking. This black man in his, I think he's like in his early 30s. And he said, I ain't gonna lie, brah. I think it's truth time. I was against pretty much everything that was coming towards Memphis. I was against this National Guard, all this different police units, all this military, all this. I was against all this SHIT coming to the end, all right? Especially when I was the one learning the SHIT about Memphis and how the crime had been down 25% than it has been in like hella years in SHIT. Like, Memphis been doing good. We just had the most peaceful summer in a long little time for just these folks still come with this SHIT. I was against this SHIT, bruh. And then I seen the numbers after the first week of rounding up, and he says NIGGAS. These folks then got 16 convicted murderers off the streets in 1 week. Black people. I know it's a lot of Memphis folks somehow all, and then he says NIGGAS again, gone now, and they over here, and then he uses like a funny voice, and he says, and they over here like, the police pulling over all the good hard-working people. And he said, hey, if that was the case, I'm sorry, but I can't wholeheartedly say they doing a bad thing now. Now that I just seen them numbers, brah. And I'm going to be honest. I'm a real Memphis NIGGA. I love my city. Once again, NIGGA, this is where I'm at. And I wait on the mother effing bus. I'm in the heart of this SHIT. I love this SHIT. But I would be lying if I ain't just read them numbers and said, damn, that's a good thing for Memphis. So I'm out of this, y'all. I ain't got normal commentary on this National Guard SHIT being here. The police, the over police. I ain't got SHIT to say to that, brah. Because it's kind of hard for me to say they doing us wrong when they really getting convicted effing murderers off the streets and felons with guns off the streets, brah. Hey, brah, y'all just be easy, brah. Be easy. And then the narrator says, now you can almost feel the weight lift off his voice, like he's finally free to admit what everyone else is whispering. That's the sound of ego dying and truth showing up for work. He didn't flip sides. He just looked at the scoreboard. And in 1 week, crime dropped, murderers got snatched off the streets, and people started walking with their shoulders down instead of their eyes over their back. That's progress. That's leadership that doesn't come from a podium. It comes from results. Because when your neighborhood been bleeding, you don't care about speeches. You care about stitches. And yet you think results would unite people, right? Instead, for some, it triggered outrage. This next brother said what most are too afraid to admit out loud. And here's another young black man, and he's on TikTok, and he's at Vision of Halo. So this is him talking. He said, I just watched a video of a young boy in Memphis who was literally thanking the President Trump and the National Guard for coming in and making his neighborhood safe enough for him to play outside for the first time. And as somebody who grew up playing outside, I grew up in Tampa, Florida, which compared to places like Memphis and Chicago is very safe, right? But I still have seen people get SHOT and die in front of me. And that is traumatizing. I wouldn't wish that on any kid. And to hear him say that he can play outside for the first time broke me. Because every kid should be able to play outside of their own house in their own neighborhood. They shouldn't be afraid to play outside because there's hooligans outside unaliving each other. That is insane. And watching all of you get on this app and, attack this kid and attack his mother, who I think is a journalist, for not endorsing Trump, not saying go MAGA, none of that. Just saying, hey, thanks for coming in and giving us, even if it's temporary, a feeling of what peace or safety feels like. And then the narrator says, And then the young black man continues, sometimes I wonder about the success of our community, to be honest, because let's put aside the National Guard coming in and the legal whatever. Why does it take the National Guard to come into these places to make them safe enough for kids to play? Why is that necessary? Let's start there before we get mad at Trump for coming in and doing whatever. Let's start at why it's necessary for them to even do this. And you people are so brain dead that if a woman says thank you for making the neighborhood safe for my kids, not endorsing any of his other policies, just this one thing, thank you for making the neighborhood safe. Now you're attacking her. Now you're calling her a sellout. Now you're calling her all of this. Apparently, her job threatened to fire her if she did an interview talking about this. What is this world? And the narrator said, I have no clue. And I'm going to find that video. He's not yelling. He's not pleading for sure. No, he said, he's not yelling. He's pleading for sure. That clip should make every thinking person pause because he's right. We've turned politics into personality tests. Too many of us would rather be wrong than together, right along. I'm sorry, I said that completely wrong. No, I said that right. Yeah, I did. We'd rather be wrong together than right alone. There we go. Boom. My fault, y'all. Fumbled it. But y'all get what I'm saying. We screaming about oppression, but we attack anyone who breaks out of the mental group chat. We can't fight for freedom while punishing free thought. That's why the word sellout lost its meaning. Half the people using it never thought it, never bought into begin with. This isn't about Trump, it's about truth. And when the truth starts cutting deep, people start calling you names to dull the pain. But see, not everyone's running from the conversation anymore. Some are diving right into it. And then the narrator shows, and then the narrator shows a clip of a black man in his mid-30s, I think. Again, he's wearing a red Make America Great Again cap, 45-47. And he's being interviewed by a younger black man who looks like he's a journalist. I don't know who he is, but he has a little microphone, and he's interviewing the black man in the Make America Great Again cap. So the narrator actually said, I cut him off when he said, starts cutting deep, people start calling you names to dull the pain, but not everyone's running from the conversation anymore. Some are diving right into it with history, receipts in hand. And then he says, check this out. And then he shows the clip of this interview with red cap black man and young journalist black man. So the red cap man says, all those policies have not done what they promised. Would you agree? And the interviewer says, I would not agree. And the red cap says, so you think we're better off as black people now than we were before LBJ? And of course, listener, he means President Lyndon Baines Johnson. And the interviewer says, yes, we can vote without the threat of violence. Are you talking about the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Is that what you're describing as a negative thing? And the red cap man, he just sighs like, and then the interviewer says, was the Civil Rights Act of 1964 a bad thing? And the red cap says, I agree with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The interviewer emphatically says, thank you. The red cap says, but at the same time, I'm also, put it like this, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And the interviewer says, I don't know what that means. Explain more. And the red cap says, what it means is, I would rather, given the fact that even back then we still had our families together, communities were stronger back then, I would rather deal with the dangerous freedom of not knowing and controlling people with policies as much as possible versus the peaceful slavery of being married and tied to the government. And the narrator says, okay, I got you. Oh, excuse me. And then that was the end of that interview. And then the narrator of this clip, he says, okay, I got you. This right here, that right there actually belongs on a monument. He's not glorifying danger. You know what I'm saying? And listener, I agree. That's why I'm naming this clip Dangerous Freedom versus Peaceful Slavery, because I love that too. The narrator of this clip is going on talking. He's saying, he's reminding people that freedom ain't free from risk. All right? We used to know that before the slogans, before the hashtags, before we started thinking comfort was a birthright. Peaceful slavery, at least from what I got, that's when you let the system hold you like a child, just so you never have to grow up. Dangerous freedom, from what I gather, that's when you take the wheel, even if the road's rough. The irony is that's how our grandparents lived. Strong home, strong faith, strong community before clout. And somewhere between 1964 and right now, we forgot that freedom only works if you protect it yourself. We're real people out here, rediscovering that. I want you to watch the elites up top and see what they are doing. Meanwhile, regular people like Braylon, like the Memphis Man, like half the country, they're just noticing peace feels better than politics. Yeah, you ever notice the loudest critics of the law and order all live behind gates? They want chaos where you live, just not where they live. Because your fifth one is their speeches. But when peace comes without permission, they lose their grip. That's why this whole thing rattled them. And that's why this moment matters, not just for Memphis, but for every city that's been written off, like it's past saving. Meanwhile, Memphis was supposed to be another headline, another hopeless city in a broken country, but it didn't break. It actually adapted. And now the people they said would never wake up are rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. This isn't about switching teams. It's about switching lenses. It's realizing peace feels better than pity. It's realizing that the party you've been loyal to ain't been loyal to your results. You know what I'm saying? And it's realizing that leadership doesn't come from hashtags. It comes from hard choices. So you can call them sellouts if it helps you sleep. But sooner or later, we all got to pick between our comfort and our courage. And when that time comes, I pray you choose the version of you that doesn't need permission to grow. I want you to comment awakened if you made it to the end, because that's exactly what's happening in this country right now. One city at a time, one truth at a time, and one mind at a time. I see it happening. Y'all be safe. Please go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace. Now, I have a tear in my eye and a lump in my throat just from reading that. And I already watched it and read it already. I'm just, giving it to you guys. But that is so touching to me. And that is so golden. That is so inspiring to me. Because yes, people are waking up. And the best is yet to come. Yes. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you so much. And why not join my channel? I would love it to expand more. I would love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And not because I really care about my own name and fame, but I need to have opportunity to voice. And that's what a larger platform brings. That's what more member brings, just more people listening and sharing. And that's wonderful. So I end all of my clips with the closing prayer in Sanskrit and Telugu. And what I'm saying is, God bless all beings in all worlds. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. Yes, peace, peace, peace. God bless you and yours. I'm sending much love and big hugs to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.